Hi everyone. Thanks for dropping by once again on my channel. So yeah, I hope everyone has been doing great and happy new year to everyone. I mean that's a belated happy new year. I hope you've been all safe and not compromised in terms of your health and wellness, and hopefully having new happy new year resolution for yourself for your well-being. So, that being said, the reason why I'm here once again is to tell you about one of my most passionate advocacy in life, and that's pertaining to wellness and nutrition. And of course, we all know that health is wealth, and that without our body being in tip-top condition, we won't be able to pursue anything else in life, and we won't be able to have that vessel in which our dreams, our other passions in life can become a reality. So when I say that wellness is one of my passions or my motivation in interacting with many friends and individuals, every one point in our lives we all have these issues in our health and difficulty that sometimes it's normally would affect us emotionally or in our communicating or in our relating to other people. So let me run down the details on why I am really about giving people advice regarding their health, and how I became to how I was able to like accumulate many understanding regarding wellness and nutrition. So first of all, I like to share to you guys a very personal testimony. I grew up very sickly, and I'm also neglected by my parents growing up because I have separated parents. So since my mom had to raise us up on her own, she had to do work, and then that opens translate to her being far from us. So she's not really able to look after us, me and my siblings. So we're often like left out in the house and just provided with money so that we can buy food outside, and just um, to sum it up, we just basically survived during our childhood in terms of having help from others around us, our neighborhoods and our childhood peers. So that's how I was able to go through life, so that it also translated for me being sickly. So when I was at in my elementary years, I was diagnosed with anemia, very severe anemia that sometimes it causes me to collapse or pass out. And then I almost had to go through blood transfusions. But again, since my mom did not consider top priority caring for us or children, it's like, well, the time just went by, and I was able to, just grew out of it. At the same time, I just focused myself in studying and just, finishing school. So because I was thinking, in order for me to help myself, and I have to learn on my own, and make something out of my circumstances, and not just rely on my mom anymore or with the adults around me, since they are more focused on providing also for us. So I just to make it clear, I never like take it against my mom or the people around me, whatever their shortcomings are, because I also know that poverty and just trying to survive and live out through all those years already a big task on anyone's shoulders back then. So yeah, I'm still thankful and grateful to God that I was able to, um, overcome the physical ailments and the illnesses that I've gone through growing up. So I was also diagnosed with, during that time, it was mistaken for a goiter. But when I was operated by the surgeon, specializing in cancer, and I also later on found out, doing my own research, that it's a plumber's disease. It's a thyroid condition where my thyroid is overcompensating, and because of a nodule or a cyst, a tumor that has grown in the part of my thyroid. But since I got the operation about 22 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, so again, it's a condition that was due to lack of proper guidance in what a person should eat. Since I was growing up, and I never have a proper meal every time and just having to rely on the food that is available to us in the carinderia or in school. So that's how I think, or it would be like rightly to think or to conclude that I had this condition, that this hormone problems occurred. So yeah, that's number one reason why I wanted to, learn more and help other children also in uh, getting their health, check, because later on in life, how you manage their eating habits and their satiety and the needs that they're going to have growing up, it would also affect them come adulthood. So it got into my passion, or into my system, to help many others who might just be as clueless as my mom or as myself back then. So because if we are able to get the proper knowledge or the tools that we need in order to um, help ourselves, because every family has this condition na, even if we are not prone to a certain things, or we don't get frequently ill, still in our family, or what we call family history, every one of us will have this certain condition that is common to our own families. So I wanted to share help towards, preventing most of the diseases that may affect a family, especially if there are having children that they need to raise up. So I wanted to be a help to my contemporary in this way. And then number two, my reason to why I really am passionate with wellness and nutrition. This is a persistent desire for me to understand more of God's command, because in the Bible we are commanded to like love one another, but again, Jesus being himself, he elevated the command into another level, to a higher level, saying that we must not only love one another, but we also must love our enemies, and we must do good to those who hate us. So I think that wellness is something to do also, not just about the physical aspect of one's well-being, but also spiritual, and the emotional and the intellectual well-being of a person. It involves everything that a person would have, or sometimes it interplays or interacts in that sense. So it's worth noting that we need to understand why God commanded us things like this. And I think that sometimes people are psychologically challenged, or emotionally they got emotional changes or mental fogginess or conditions, because the disease or a certain illness may affect their state of mind or their state of emotion. Or sometimes when illnesses are severe, like I said, it can cause psychological or emotional changes in a person. And in the same way, traumatic, did I say it right? Traumatic experiences like losing a loved one, or getting into a serious accident that might have caused us to, be impaired, or to lose some specific function in our body. So this psychological condition, traumatic experiences, can, if it is severe enough, it can cause us to have a disease. It can translate to a certain disease also, like you know if there are post-traumatic stress disorder that is an it is unattended, or it is not treated, it would also cause like loss of appetite. And again, if someone has no appetite, is not able to eat or get an intake of the nutrition that the physical body needs. So, and it would translate to a disease or an ulcer, for example, or a condition that would affect the physical body in itself. So these three things is interplay or interchanging. It's always together when you talk about well-being or wellness. So, uh, going back to the biblical principle, so at one point in our lives, every one of us would really have this need to be understand, or for somebody to be there for us whenever we have this, dark moments in our lives. No, it's either it's a mental or an experience that is traumatic, or it is an illness that has caused us to have this mental change or to have this emotional struggle. So I guess what I'm trying to say is it makes a lot of sense for Jesus to command us to love one another. So because all of us will have to go through these challenges. So all of us would need someone to be there for us. So if we are able to love one another regardless of their condition, regardless of their emotional state, then perhaps we will not just be able to help them out to recover and all that, but in turn we can also gain something out of it, like we feel the compassion, and we can also self-check ourselves, because if we are easily depressed also, and we are not empathic, but more of like we're getting the blues also, having to be there with the person who is emotionally traumatized. So then it would suggest that we might also have ourselves problem innately or physically in our body. Um, so example of persistent depression, medically could be an underlying cause of a serious disease. Sometimes cancer, any medical doctor can tell you that, because of certain changes in the body which affects our emotions, our emotional state, our condition, or our brain processes. So it can be an indication of a serious illness, that this emotional problems, depressions or anxiety, or too much fears, baseless fears. So it can be a clue that something is really wrong in our physical body, or there's some innate condition that we can address medically. And then number three, I also like to help out people in terms of understanding nutrition and wellness, because there is a growing need for bringing back clarity towards what goes through our body. So diet is not only what we consume or what we eat, it's also what we do and how we process things. Like I said, when we have traumatic experiences, or when we have difficulties in life, how do we deal with them? So these events in our lives that may culminates to our well-being or the lack of it, you know. So, okay, try to imagine this. Why is it that a child from a rural province or a natural environment, who would have only minimal access, of course, to the very basic things in life, like raw food, for example, this kid lives nearby a beach or in a mountainous area. So the access of this child to food would be so natural, like coming from the earth or coming from the ground, or if it's nearby the beach or the sea, that would be plenty of seafood and all that. So his food sources would be coming from there, and her activities would also be surrounding the place. So yeah, we can say that there's no frequent mall or building to visit for him. There's no steady access to a Wi-Fi or internet, and so therefore there are also no fast food or grocery food for this kid. Then compare this child to someone who would be exposed to the the exact opposite of this scenario, of this environment. And guess whose lifestyle or whose kid would thrive more physically afterwards? Yeah. So I guess you would say it's the person who has an accumulative experience of eating natural food and being in an environment where he is able to freely run and move a lot, and enjoy his surroundings, there's a phenomenon that says that when we are close to nature, especially the water, it gives us a sense of being loved or being at peace with our life, with our loved ones. So, yeah, I'm coming to the fourth point now, where I love why I love to share or help out people in understanding wellness. That would be because so many people are clueless right now as to what really works and what not. This is because there are so many confusing, or if not conflicting, theories on diet. There's so many diet facades, or I mean fads, that came out, perhaps even more the recent years that passed by, like keto diet, paleo diet, vegan diet, you know. These diet fads, even fly by night weight loss trend, if you truly examine them, and because these are generally designed for a group, but if you have certain condition, if you have certain deficiency, and you go through this diet, I would say that it's a very dangerous thing to do, or it would be more hazardous to your health in the long run. um, Okay, let me give you an example, guys. The idea of juicing, or taking juices, from mixing certain kinds of fruits and vegetables and blending it, or probably cold pressing it, whatever means that people do it just to take out the juice from the fruit itself. Um, First of all, the juice itself is not really a healthy thing to franchise, or to do, or to have a habit of intake, because the juices, especially in brought by inside the grocery or supermarket, there are more sugar contents than a normal fruit would have. So why? Because they need to preserve it, and they need to make it more palatable, or more desirable for the mouth or for the consumers. So it's more dangerous to drink that stuff coming from the grocery store, the juices. Although they will say that they are they contain vitamin C, phytonutrients, and all that. Yes, the juice itself, even the fruit itself, have those. But if you would buy them in the grocery, it already means that the juice itself has been processed, and it has been added with sugar for preservatives, and at the same time some additional chemicals in order for it to have a longer shelf life. So those things that is added to it can create a problem later on in one's health. And then uh, the juices available in the supermarket is that is only one thing. But also, when you leave out the fiber from the fruit in what you drink, you also eliminate one essential part of the whole food, because when you have the whole fruit itself, it's better to eat the whole fruit, because you will also have to, nature made it that way. You have to eat also the fiber, so that it doesn't only give you the nutrients that you need, the water soluble vitamins, but at the same time the fiber would also help eliminate all the excess things inside your gut that doesn't necessarily needed by your body. So it's better for you to just eat the fruit itself. And by the way, the best way to eat fruit is not together with any other food, because fruit is best eaten on its own. Why? Because fruit has a different metabolic time. So when you eat it with other food, especially meat, the food that you eat with it would go, um, what they call this, half digested, or it is not metabolized well in the body. So it would be a problem in your gut or in your colon because you have partially digested food there. So again, this is a precaution to just one diet thing that I'm talking about, which is juicing. And also, juicing in its process would immediately take in a chemical reaction. When you juice something, when it hits the blade or it touch a knife, once it's grind or squeezed out, the juice from the fruit, because it's a skinned off fruit or cut out veggies left at room temperature, would already proceed to have a chemical reaction and form compounds that are hazardous to health, like the oxalates. And that's why I don't know if everyone have come across this information, why it's not advisable for you to use cut out onions. Onions are a very highly what you call the sensationalized issue right now, because it's becoming too expensive or too costly for everyone to buy. So when they say you don't cut out the onion and then leave the half for later use, because the onion, when left in at room temperature or it left unused for a couple of hours, it already reacts to its surroundings, so it becomes toxic to be used. So you just threw it out. Yeah. So those are only few things on why juicing, for example, is not very reliable source of, adding diet nutritional input to your body. So other things, as I get along this presentation or this video series that I plan to do, so that I'd be able to, give you guys input in terms of what do we really need to do in terms of, optimizing the nutrition that we get from our food, and how to really provide the correct nutrition that is affordable and that is sustainable and that is within the means of everyone's capacity to maintain. So that's what I have in mind. So perhaps on the next video I talk about it more. So but this time, this is just a beginning or a startup video. I'm just going to share to you how to achieve wellness through natural and doable means, as I've said, and also explain what will not and what will not work, so what to do instead. And also I'm going to explain, and will try to explain in a simple and understandable presentation, the science behind diseases that affects a lot of us. Why is there a rise in diabetes, and how to prevent it, and the symptoms, how to recognize it, and that the hormonal imbalances, why women are prone to hormonal changes in their body as they age, and how to adapt to it, how to get the proper nutrition to help with the changes, especially when women go through menopausal period. There are so many difficulties and changes the body goes through that you need to aid it with the exact nutrition, at the same time the correct lifestyle and habits that will help you grace normally, naturally. And the best thing about it you would not age as someone who would be like problematic, or would look really her age. For me personally, not to brag about this, but I'm always mistaken as a little younger than my age. Not really very young anymore, and I don't expect that because I'm not really that young anymore. But still I am mistaken for someone who is a bit younger than my actual age is. So that's something that I'm also take a pleasure on, because I help to sustain my body in terms of giving it or aiding it with proper nutrition and following a healthy lifestyle, and and also to maintain a good mental state, an emotional state that would also supplement what you do in the physical. Okay, so um, in general, I believe that all diseases are no doubt curable. Why? Because, or how do I know this? In Matthew 4:23, and I always use this verse to, give back the glory or the work up to God, not just to what I say, or not just to rely on my own knowledge, because even the Bible would tell us that we should not rely on our own knowledge, we should not rely on our own understanding, but in everything we do, we must lay it down to God, and He will direct our steps. And again, going back to Matthew 43, chapter 4, verses 23, it says, Jesus went throughout Galilee, teaching in their synagogues, proclaiming the good news of the kingdom, and healing every disease and sickness among the people. So there you can see the word is healing every disease and sickness among the people. So it means to say that every sickness, every disease has an answer, or it has a cure. And Jesus, having had done that during his time, and people whom he called to be his disciples, and I would say I would be one of them, and for everyone else that, of course, who had given their lives to the Lord, it can be freely be a disciple of God as they continue to walk in His ways and obey His commands. So I can say that we are called to aid or help provide healing to people, especially when we rely on Him. And we Filipinos, we believe in healing, attaining healing through our faith also. We believe in God would channel, healing through either medical means, the science means, or at the same time, naturopathy, such as I do. And so also help prevent certain diseases to truly progress, or to come into full bloom. So that's what I'm after. Also, when I meet people and they will tell me that they have the symptoms, and then I would recognize what this is coming to be, or it would fully grown to be. So I would help them to prevent it, and give them ideas on how to you know change the course of their health. So of course, that would have to be the person's desire, if they wanted to get healing or they wanted to be well. Because sometimes, even if you wanted to help somebody, but they are not really inclined to being helped, or they do not see it as something that is problematic to them, that's already a deterrent to what you can help, or what you can do in order to help that person. But going back, uh, I believe that nothing happens by chance. So instead, each thing that happens to us are just a culmination of events that we commonly may not be paying to, unless it's become problematic or of a concern to us. So, yeah, before a problem may occur or a disease can truly progress, there's a culmination of events leading to that. So I wanted to provide people with understanding on what goes into the table, what they are buying, because food can be your good source of health, or it could be your medicine, or it can be also your poison, or the toxic that may one day uh, not just compromise your health, but sometimes it weakens you on a daily basis until a serious illness or serious injury comes to you, and you're not able to uh, recover from it. So that's when you would understand that uh, the culmination of the days that you prior to that event happening, you were not really paying attention to what goes into your body, or to how you manage your life, so that eventually would, compromise your health. So, based on my experience, sometimes the cure or the solution is found in just a school of thought. Yeah, there are cases like that. Naturopathy is known to be as such, identifying first the causes, and then sometimes it's a combination of causes, physical reason, like I've said, the food that you eat, mostly it's probably 50% of that. Then the rest is like 25% lifestyle, how you manage your emotions, stress level in your work, and the problems in the house, and then the mental challenges, for mothers would be the budgeting, the actual plans for children, and all these things. And problems with your in-laws, problems with your children in school, problems with your spouse, how you are able to manage this would all come together. And it would not just be a family health history anymore. If you get sick, or if you stay or maintain healthy, based on my experience, having gone through the challenges of COVID and having very difficult moments with Brian, my physician husband who just died, and prior to that, even the very grieving experience that we experienced prior to his death, if I have not come to know of, first, of course, the Lord's help and the knowledge that He has shown me through His words, to be faithful and to believe in Him, to hang in there, and to just always be trusting the Lord at all circumstances. Apart from that, the knowledge that He has shown me through naturopathy, the knowledge has given me all throughout those years that I'm inclined myself to understanding food, the processes that goes into our body. So if I have not come to understand those, if I have not been practicing them, I bet I will not be, be able to recover from the emotional trauma, and probably I would have also acquired a disease pertaining to that, tandem to that. So yeah. So with these things, I would just like to start this series of videos I've mentioned by saying that optimal health or wellness is or can only be achieved through, number one, proper personal knowledge on a diet, the food that you eat, that what works for you, meaning no one diet can work for everyone. Our age, lifestyle, and current condition differs from one another, and therefore our meal and nutrient needs are different. So what I'm saying is, personally, in our household, I usually would prepare 3 meals, 3 different ways, because I have 2 children. So that's 2 meals already, and then one for myself. So as some of you know, my eldest has a diagnosed condition with a speech delay, and therefore she also has developed this social impediment and has been worsened due to the grieving experience that we've gone through. Like I've mentioned, the loss of her dad. So it's very difficult for her to understand the concept of losing someone. So during the time that we have a difficulty with Brian, to the point that he's really gone, and up to this time, there's still cases where I'd experience outbursts of emotion, screaming, tantrums, and from my daughter. But I was able to get hold of this diet protocol, which is called Nemechek protocol. This protocol identifies certain types of food and diet for children diagnosed with learning delay condition, or even the autism spectrum disorder. So I would later on discuss this on a separate video, because this is going to be very helpful, especially for mothers or children who have children with very special needs. So I would really love for you guys to watch on that video. And then my second child has just turned 4 and is more active and very lively. I would say she's more brilliant because she's really very expressive, very in touch with the world around her, she's very interactive and all that. So she has also a different nutrition or meal requirements. She's because she's more in the anabolic requirements. Anabolic versus anabolism versus catabolism. Anabolic just means it's the process of the body that don't worry guys, I'll be explaining more of this on the next video, but like I've said, this is just like introduction video to this series of videos that I would like to share to everyone, so that perhaps I hope it could help you all guys to be more mindful in what goes into your plate, in how to buy even in the market, so that you're able to meet the requirements of your family in terms of nutrition, in terms of their energy needs, and even help in the overall wellness, including mental or emotional well-being of your loved ones. So that's the first reason, the right knowledge for diet to meet personal needs of your family, including yourself. And then secondly, management of lifestyle, how to keep an active lifestyle. Even if you're working, sitting on a desk, that's your job, how to be able to be active in spite of, the deterrent or the conditions that may prohibit you from being active. So because inactivity is one of the main culprits of diseases these days. The sedentary lifestyle. They say it this way: sitting is the new smoking. Yeah, so that's how dangerous inactivity is. Okay, so I'll help you guys find out how to um, augment that, to resolve that, so that you're still able to get the activity that will help your body to have a good blood circulation, and to have a exercise habit perhaps that works for your schedule, so that overall it would again affect your well-being or your physical body. And this form of exercises, by the way, it's very important. Just to touch base about it this early on, exercise can cause what we call BDNF. That's a brain-derived neurotrophic factor. It's a condition in your neurons, the neurological pathways in your brains that enables you to um, refresh your neuron pathways, that helps you, that gives the good feeling and produce good hormones in your body, so that you are able to stay alert, and you're also able to age gracefully, because this is also prevent the wrinkling of your skin. This can also steer you away from being negative or being easily offended and all that. So again, I would explain more about this on the series of videos that I'm planning to make after this one. So just watch out for the next videos that I'm going to post after this. All right, so again, the BDNF, the brain-derived neurotrophic factor that I'm mentioning to you guys about, it helps to maintain or cure mental symptoms, including anxiety, depression, foggy thinking, early symptoms of, Alzheimer's, or being, what we call this in Tagalog, ano na, ito, na-experience ko na. Just for an example, nagiging ulyanin. Oh, okay, there. So, at least, naagapan ko pa. That goes to show my wellness is still at work. Just kidding, guys. Okay, so, unhealthy food can sometimes affect or give this BDNF a problem in our brain, in our system. This is typically, if you would notice, if you eat Chinese food, or sometimes other food like chips that are heavily processed with so many sodium glutamate, so many preservative and all that. this food is actually considered toxin, that are excitotoxin. They are actually, they over stimulates this part of the brain, the neuron that gives you a thinking that the food you're eating is more tastier and it's more pleasurable, but it's actually not, because it just overstimulates your neuron. So it's a neurotoxicity that is happening actually. And therefore, after eating this type of food, what happens is you will crash, or you will have this spirit, you would have this feeling of the neuron fatigue, like you suddenly get headaches, or because it's too salty or too sweet, like the Chinese food, it's so palatable. Then later on, you would feel so like sleepy or tired, because it taxed your system, especially your digestive system, because they have to eliminate the toxin that was placed in your food in order for it to be palatable than the usual meals. So having said this, you can see that there's no one sure cure for any condition of any disease. So, meaning, diet alone will not help you cure diabetes. Diet alone could not help you, you know, with your thyroid condition or hormone issues. So there are other factors. Instead, it's the play of these three factors, as I've mentioned. It comprises the well-being, or the whole wellness that we're talking about. So diet and nutrition, lifestyle, which comprises emotion and physical activities, and then the mental condition. So there's three of that at play to consider someone who having a healthy being or a good disposition. All right. So, you may be eating all the nutritious food, but if you do not manage your emotions, stress at work, as I've mentioned, will also end up perhaps unable to sleep or depressed, something like that. And you therefore will not be on a tip-top or optimal health condition. And since adequate quality sleep, for example, is one important factor of our natural body. It's our natural body process to be asleep at night in order for our physical body to repair or do its work while we sleep. And so yeah, if you are blessed on the other hand with the pleasurable life, you are born with a silver spoon, and you have really nothing to worry about or stress about earning and all that. You don't have to go into the rat race, and you have a better a start in life. But yeah, if you are more, I would say you're more prone naman to abusing your body, eating a lot, getting in too much. Okay, so of course it would also if you do not watch out what you eat, your wellness can also crumble or fall with what's on the table. Okay, so people with more time to relax and to have a time for themselves, they usually end up the ones abusing themselves in terms of indulgence and overeating. Okay, so that's what we're trying to help to resolve, because when your body meets or is already able to meet the nutrients that you eat, in terms of just having the right meals for you, then it would not be so craving. Your satiety would just be controlled by you. You would be able to, have that discipline for once and for all, so that you're able to manage your overall wellness in terms of diet, and also the right motivation in terms of experiencing mental clarity and emotional well-being. If you're able to have this all work together, it would be the optimal wellness, or the optimal health or well-being that every one of us is trying to achieve. So Just to kick start this video series on the naturopathic approach to wellness, so I will just leave you guys with this illustration showing that our daily and usually unconscious choices that determines our wellness or the lack of it when illness or need for recovery strikes. So I hope you can take a look at it and leave you guys something to ponder on. Again, thank you for watching and listening to me. I hope you all have a good day. Bye-bye.